Howdy, guys. So today, a good question that one of you guys had, which was, what advice would you give to someone who has never done any body composition tracking before? So, like anything else, the first thing you got to ask them is, why do you care? So, are we doing this because we're trying to compete in bodybuilding, fitness, figure, some type of aesthetically minded outcome where it makes perfect sense? Like the goal is to be incredibly lean when you're on stage. Is it something to do more with health where you're looking for long term, just better overall performance? Then, like, okay, like we figure it's going to be always a bell curve. So, somewhere in the center of the curve is the optimal body composition for whatever you're trying to do. Obviously, the bell curve is shifted way higher when it comes to body fat percentage when you're talking about things like sumo wrestlers, and way lower when you're talking about things like bodybuilders. And a lot of sports, yeah, there's a little bit of sway either direction, and then within positional roles within them. So my big question is kind of like, why do we care? Now, if it's they'd rather have better body comp than focus on things like just sheer weight loss, I'm on board because like anything else, how someone looks at 100, 150, 200, 250 pounds is going to be very different between if they're moderately lean to lean at those body weights as opposed to being having very low amounts of muscle mass and just fat mass. So, and once again, you probably perform better if you got more lean mass and you lost some fat mass and stay at the same body weight. So, when you do it, understand that any form of testing for body composition always has errors. There are always going to be some mistakes. Some are going to overestimate, some are going to underestimate, and it's also going to come down to who's doing the testing. Sometimes that's going to throw things off with like skinfold calipers. So you want to effectively test yourself as many different ways as you can. So if you have access to something like a bod pod or a DEXA, great. If it's going to be some type of BIA or BIS, so it could be a handheld, could be a scale that you step on, could be an 8 point, which is going to be a bit better. And you still want to test yourself with as many different ways pretty much at the same time. Then on top of that, take some girth measurements and take some girth measurements that you tend not to be able to screw up. Thigh is difficult because it's conical. Arm is relatively easy because every bro is going to go for the biggest size of it. Waist around the umbilicus, relaxed, or just the narrowest part of your waist, hips, chest, if you're so inclined, calves. Give yourself a number of those different girth measurements. Take some pictures of yourself standing in your swimsuit or less. Be careful those pictures don't go anywhere you don't want them to. But the pictures are going to show how you look at that given body fat percentage at that given body weight. So you can lose weight and effectively lose the same amount of fat as you did lean mass and look pretty much the same. Like, yeah, you're maybe a little bit smaller, but the aesthetic you're looking for isn't as good. Whereas you could lose 5 pounds of fat and gain 5 pounds of muscle, be the exact same body weight, and look a lot different in the mirror. Now, if your arm measurement has stayed the same and your waist has gone down, that's usually a pretty good indicator that you've lost body fat. And the opposite is true. If your arms have gone down and your waist has stayed the same, you've probably lost muscle mass. Now, obviously, it's not perfect. The key is you tend to not carry as much fat mass on your arms as you do through your torso, specifically if you're male. You might see changes, obviously, in that waist to hip ratio. All of those things are going to give you good information as to what's going on. Plus, you can kind of get an idea of like local hypertrophy effects. So, obviously, if you're a dude that's just doing arm farm stuff, you're not doing any lower body. Yeah, your arms might increase in size, your waist probably won't. Not that you really gain that much more muscle mass through your core through heavy training, but you do gain some muscle mass. So, want you guys to go ahead and effectively try to test in a variety of different ways and track yourself only as frequently as you think you've made major changes. So, if it's been 2 or 3 months, you step on the scale, everything you're seeing looks the same, the numbers look the same, your performance is the same, change up your program. Figure out a way to get yourself to make the progress you're looking for. And then step on the scale 2 months later, maybe you've lost 5 pounds, maybe you've gained 5 pounds. The person you see in their swimsuit in the mirror looks discernibly different. Maybe people are making comments on it. Those girth measurements have changed. Go in, get your body composition reassessed the same way you had it assessed the first time. This means controlling for things like going in at the same time of your monthly cycle if you're female, making sure that you're going in the next day with effectively, you've used the bathroom, you have had pretty much the same thing to eat the night before the next day, so we don't have any issues with bloating, or maybe we had some, let's just simply say we're a little ruddy and had a little bit more go through us in the morning than we normally do. So if you got all of that information, then you can really see what type of progress you're making or not making. And it's just a result. Yes, it hurts when you don't make progress. And I don't wish that. Well, I do wish that on some people. I'm a petty person on occasion, I'll be honest. But the goal is for people to be healthy and happy. And if you make the progress that puts you into the body that you're looking for and is giving you the performance that you're looking for out of that body, usually the form and the function tend to relate, but it's not always perfect. And like anything else, you might feel better at a higher body composition than obviously is going to be in the bodybuilding magazines or otherwise. It turns out a lot of those people right before they go on stage or when they're on stage are absolutely freaking miserable and inches from death in certain cases. So figure out, have we made progress? Figure out ways we can test the progress. The taking pictures of yourself and the girth measurement, those are pretty cheap things to do. DEXAs, bod pods, those can cost sometimes over $100 per scan. So don't waste your time on going and getting another one until you've actually found that you've made some real changes. And try to weigh yourself in or whatever testing method you have at home before you go in that day, because then you can see the disagreement between those two scales. So hopefully that was a good little rundown for what you guys are looking for there. Thank you guys for listening, and you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.